Okay. Uh, Hello, Connor. Nice to see you again. I hope my think my audio balance should be better now than what it was last week. Um, but yeah, yeah. While last week for the hidden dossier, I was reading from the Bungie website directly. Today I will be doing, as the title says, um, the Books of Sorrow, and I will be reading them from the Ishtar Collective um, website. So this is basically like the lore website for Destiny. It takes all the stuff that we get in game and publishes it online. As you can see, popular, the hidden dossier. Of course it is. Of course it is. And there's also some other stuff here that is relevant because of recent story stuff. Um, so here are kind of all of the lore books that are in Destiny. Probably at some point I want to do reading of Sorority Side as well. I haven't actually read it myself yet, but I heard it's pretty good. Same for Purpose, I heard it's pretty good. And then um, I'm not sure what else to do on here from Destiny, but I want to do some public domain books at some point as well. Shattered the Sands is pretty good. Losing Tales is funny. I don't know how good it would be to just read it. Sorry, just looking through these quickly. Dark Future is very good. Jurassic Negras is very good. Unveiling is very, very good. And it also contains some of the backstory that we talked about in the Hidden Dossier last week. For Every Rose a Thorn is kind of interesting, but I don't know if it's good enough to really do a reading of. There were so many things. Truth to Power is good, and again, with the new season of The Wish coming, quite relevant, and as is All the Wishes, and also relevant to the Hidden Dossier. Uh, and then what we're going to do today, though, is start on the Books of Sorrow. As you can see, this was very early on in Destiny's history, literally, actually from Destiny 1, not even from Destiny 2. But at this point in the Destiny history, this is the first major expansion lore book. So it accompanied The Taken King, which was released 1 year after Destiny's initial release. So in Destiny, up to this point, we had kind of done the original story, which is literally irrelevant. And we had gotten the first small expansion called The Dark Below, where we kind of went on this mini raid down into the Dark Below, into the moon, and killed Crota. Crota, namely the son of Oryx, which is what brought the Taken King, Oryx himself, to go to Earth in the following big expansion. So Oryx was the big bad guy in the expansion, and these lore books are sort of his backstory, diary entries. It's not entirely um, obvious or consistent always, but they are quite good as a whole. And they kind of detail what happens in the kind of beginning of the universe that Destiny takes place in. So a lot of the stuff that's in these books will be detailed upon much more. Like the point where a lot of people started to think, oh, actually, the greater Destiny story in the greater Destiny universe sounds interesting. Before this, like there was nothing, or there was very very little. There were like hints with like Maya Russian stuff, but we can get into that later. This is the point where things were hinted at for the first time, and uh, if I keep doing these with Destiny stuff, then we might reveal what more of that is. But for now, There is one more thing to talk about, and that's actually related to the game and how you acquired these lore books in the first place. So there are, if I remember correctly, 52 of them, and they were scattered. There were these calcified fragments scattered around a destination in Destiny 1, where if you went and picked up one of these fragments, that gave you access to the lore card as well. And there was also part of a quest to get all 52 of them to get a special exotic weapon called the Touch of Malice, which I might get into at the end of all this because Touch of Malice lore appears again in the last card. So that's probably for next weekend. I don't think this is a one weekend project. Um, with that said, give me 2 minutes and we will just get right into it. All right. So, calcified fragments. Curiosity. Verse 1, 0. Fundament. Dearest sisters, it's taken me 2 years, a quarter of our lives, but I found the proof. We aren't native to the fundament. Our ancient ancestors came here to hide. The plate of stone we live on, our osmium court, is one fragment of a rocky planet that crashed into the fundament and broke apart. All the other nearby continents, the helium drinkers, the bone plaza, the star cutters, came from the same world. Perhaps the other races of the fundament are migrants too. We live on the shrapnel of our homeworld, floating on an ocean deep inside a gas giant. That's what Fundament must be, a titanic gas planet. The endless storm above us must be one layer of the atmosphere. And the sea we float on, there's more down beneath it, so much more. You understand what this means, Sathona? The timid truth is a lie. We aren't meant to be the world's prey. We weren't born to live and die in the dark. We have a better destiny. Tell our father, Sister Sathona. This is the proof of his life's work. With love, for your second birthday, your first surviving sister, Orash. 1. Predators. Verse 1 1. Predators. Predators and menaces, carved to endure by Shiro, third surviving sister of the Osmium King's lost brood. A stormjoy. A stormjoy is a living cloud. When it passes over our continent, it lowers its feeding tentacles. On each tentacle are the bait stars. Although light makes you happy, you must avoid it. You will be eaten. A stormjoy is a good way for an old person to choose death. Also, a daring knight can cut the bait stars from the tentacles. I have 6. Falling. If you fall off the edge of the continent, you will die in the ocean. This is a special hazard when our father, the Osmium King, uses the engines. Helium drinkers. The currents of the Fundament Ocean bring us near other continents. The Helium Court is near us now. They are of our species, but they are our enemies. Their knights raid us every day. Helium drinkers have 2 legs, 2 arms, and 3 eyes, just like us. But they are bright evil. I want to be a knight and fight them. The Helium Drinker Ambassador ate 10 of my sisters as tribute. This is normal. However, I resent it. Mothers. Mothers can fly. They live much longer than 10 years. Mothers are extremely smart and they guard their spawn. If you try to tamper with the eggs, they will eat you. Sathona wants to eat the jelly and become a mother when she turns 4. Storms. The rain is often poisonous. Sometimes it dissolves flesh. When lightning misses the lightning farm, it can vaporize a person. This entire world is deadly to us. Mysteries. The fundament is very large. We are the smallest things in it. If you don't understand something, it will probably kill you. My teacher Teox says this is why we have such short lives, so we can breed and adapt quickly. Moonwaves. My sister Orash is afraid of moonwaves. When she gets back from her expedition to the tungsten monoliths, I will ask her why. Verse 1-2, the hateful verse. For the consideration of the Helium Court, written in desperation, this sealed secret. I am Teox, sterile mother, teacher to the children of the Osmium throne. As a mother, I live long. As a neuter, I can rise above the small battles of court politics. I alone see the patterns of survival. Alone, I design the great engines that move the Osmium court. Now, alone, I must act to save my kingdom. Senility has claimed my lord the Osmium king. He is 10 and mad. The study of ancient text consumes him. Today he raves about moons above the storm. Tomorrow he will wander the halls, speaking to his familiar, a dead, white worm from the deep sea. He keeps it in glass, and he tends to it, and he neglects the duties of a king. The Osmium king has 3 surviving heirs, each 2 years old. Shiro, the youngest and bravest, who wants to be a knight. Sathona, most clever, who wants to be a mother. Orash, navigator child, who dreams of the infinite ocean. Tomorrow she will return from the tungsten monoliths. None of these are suitable heirs. None of them will protect the Osmium court from the howling fundament. Shiro can fight, but not lead. Sathona can think, but not fight. Orash's curiosity will draw her away from duty. I fear for all future children. Soon the Osmium king will lock himself into the royal orrery to study the moons. Gather your knights, O helium drinkers, and invade our continent. Kill the 3 heirs. I will rule the Osmium court as your regent, and build engines for you. And if I fail, let the Leviathan in the deep eat me. Written in grief, this hateful request, Teox, Osmium mother, neutered to watch. Verse 1-3, the oath. Sisters, this is how an oath is done. Put your left hands on the mast, close to mine. Take the knife in your right hand. Push it through your left hand, straight between the bones. Now, carve a bloodline down the mast. Speak your oath. I am Shiro, youngest daughter of the dead king. I will take back my Osmium court and kill the traitor Teox. On my left eye, I swear vengeance. In blood, the oath is made. I am Sathona, middle daughter of the dead king. I will take back my home and eat the mother jelly. I will raise my spawn on the corpse of the Helium king. On my right eye, I promise this. In blood, the oath is made. Now, I will help make your oath, sister. I will help it too. I am Orash, first daughter of the dead king. I will chase my father's last screamed warning. I will know what changed the motion of our moons. If the end of the world is coming, I will understand why. On my center eye, I swear it. I will understand. In blood the oath is made. In blood. Thank you, sisters. We have only my ship left to us. But a ship is freedom. We have secrets to hunt, stormlit realms to explore, and great armies to race. Put up the lightning sails, and we will voyage far. Verse 1-4, Syzygy. The Syzygy, carved to endure by Orash, the high vengeance. Only Shiro's bait stars let us escape. Only Sathona's tricks let us reach the coast. But now that we have my ship, I must lead the way. I am the navigator. We may never see our homes again. Shiro seethes with hate and fury for Teox. But this is my deepest fear. Our civilization drifts on the fundament. At the tungsten monoliths, I learned that thousands of other species drift with us, coexisting on a vast world sea, and the tides of the fundament move us all. The timid truth says that we are the smallest, most fragile things alive, the natural prey of the universe. Teox would have us believe that our ancestors came to the fundament to hide from the hungry void. My father died afraid. Not of vile Teox or the helium drinkers, but of his orrery. He screamed to me, Orash, My first daughter, the moons are different, the laws are bent. And he made the sign of a syzygy. Imagine the 52 moons of Fundament lining up in the sky. It wouldn't take all 52, of course, just a few massive moons, but this is my deepest fear. Imagine their gravity pulling on the Fundament sea, lifting it into a swollen bulge. Imagine that bulge collapsing as the syzygy passed, a wave big enough to swallow civilizations, a god wave. I have to find a way to stop it, before the god wave annihilates my species. If I could only get back into my father's orrery, I could learn exactly when. We are weeks of travel, and many continents away from home. When I am paralyzed by fear, Shiro sits in the cabin with me and comforts me with soft, brave words. But more and more we have come to rely on Sathona's wit. She will go off to be alone. She insists she must be alone, and return with some mad idea. Steer into the storm, throw down a net, eat that strange beast, explore that menacing wreck. Somehow, Sathona seems to manufacture good luck by sheer will. Verse 1-5 Needle and Worm. My secrets, carved in my code by Sathona, the right eye vengeance. This year of wild voyaging, these lightning nights and golden days, these forays into ancient wrecks and wind-blown flights from monsters, these are the happiest times of my life. I want to be a mother, not because I want to spawn, but because I want a long life. Long enough to make a difference. We have been at sea a year, and I am afraid we will die out here. I know where to find secrets. I know where vast, slow things with long memories live. The Needle Ship. The Needle Ship, carved in my code by Sathona, a liar. 1. We salvaged the needle from the Shwooby maelstrom. I knew it would be there. 2. The needle is a grey ship, as long and slender as hope, as unbreakable as time, and old, older than death. It tumbled through the maelstrom before our ancestors crashed into the Fundament. This is not a sea ship like Orash's. It is an artifact of high technology. 3. I know its purpose. I know what happened to the crew. 4. Shiro wants to sell the ship at Kaharn Atoll, where species gather. At auction, it would earn us enough wealth to hire mercenaries. We would retake our osmium court and send the baby-eating helium drinkers screaming into the ocean. 5. But I told Shiro the ship was worthless. 6. Orash wants to open the ship and see if we can take command of it. I know this is the right thing to do. I know, because I asked the worm. The worm, carved in my code by Sathona, who should be afraid. It was my father's familiar. I ripped it from him as we fled. It is a dead, white thing, segmented, washed up from the deep sea. It's dead, but it still speaks to me. It says, listen closely, O vengeance mine. Verse 1-6 Sisters. A register of tokens and gestures exchanged before the end of sisterhood. Shiro, my brave sister, you have worked too hard to move the carcasses out of the birthing room. Come, steer the ship for a while. Take joy in what our needle can do. Shiro tried to protest, but secretly she was so glad for Orash's care. She flew the needle ship in cutting circles, down, beneath the sea, and their wake rose up to the surface like a traitor's dying breath. Orash, lonely navigator, we have traveled so long with only each other. I know you love to hear and speak new tongues. Come, sit in the flesh garden room. I will read you these stories I bought at Kaharn. Orash sat among the mummified flesh fans with two of her eyes closed and listened in silence to Sathona's stories, hungry to understand, voracious to know as much as she could before her 10-year life died. Later, Shiro said, Sathona, cutting mind of ours, you grow lonely in your thought. Play swords and lanterns with me. But Sathona was heavy with sorrow, and couldn't pretend any joy as she chased Shiro through the needle's glistening holes. Sathona, pensive one, what is it? What troubles you? Her sisters listened as Sathona said, Oath-bearing siblings, we are 5 years old. For 2 years we have worked to repair this ancient ship and understand its systems. I am almost too old for the mother jelly, and the knights who killed our father are surely dying of age. We three will die here, in exile. Teox will outlive us, and Orash, brilliant-eyed Orash, you will die of old age, long before you have proof of your godway, or any way to stop it. Orash and Shiro looked at each other. I wish you weren't so honest, Shiro said, and Orash thought that Sathona had never been wrong. In her soul, Orash knew that the only way to keep their oath was to find a great, powerful secret. A secret that could change everything. This was Orash's soul, her fire and her shadow, her desire to cut through the flank of the world and find its beating heart. We have to dive, Orash said. That's what this ship is built to do. Dive into the fundament, the world below us, towards the core. That's where the ancient crew died so obscenely, Shiro protested. That's where the atrocity in the birthing room was spawned. We have to dive, Sathona said, following the whispers of her familiar. In the world beneath us, in the metallic depths, I hope we may find what we need most. More time, more life. Verse 1-7. The Dive. For life, Sathona dove. For vengeance, Shiro dove. And Orash dove to understand. The needle ship pierced the skin of the world and burrowed deep, through layers of foam and metal and cold elemental slush. Orash devoured the ship's maps of fundament, from the high angelic cloud decks, down and down through storms and oceans and plates of floating world, into the crush of the core. They met monsters of continental scope, vast anemones that raised glowing tentacles to bait them in. Shiro flew the needle ship through them, and they bled black carbon jelly and frost. They came to a still place beneath a plate of metal. I'll use the sensors, whispered Orash. Listen. In the wet, gold dark of the helm, they listened to the ship, and the ship listened to the crushing motions of fundament. They heard the collision of continents. They heard the patter and the crash of helium neon rain. They heard the struggles of monsters, and they heard the distant groan of the ocean rising, tugged by distant moons. The syzygy is real, Sathona hissed. It's already begun. Behind them, Shiro thought of the birthing room, where ancient explorers had labored over surgeries and administrations, peeling back the chrysalis and the caul of that which they had made from the deep, whose birth none of them would survive. There's something down here, she whispered. Something secret. And the Leviathan loomed over them, its brow as huge as all the continents of their childhood, its great array fins crackling with the lightning of its life, booming into the hull of the needle ship in a microwave voice. You must turn back. Save yourselves from the deep. Save the world from yourselves. You must turn back. Verse 1-8. Leviathan. The Leviathan's warning. We live on the edge of a war between formless and form, between the deep and the sky. My eyes are wide, my gaze is long. Across the universe, as far as I see, the sky works to charge its fires, and the deep drowns the ash. Sky builds gentle places, safe for life, beloved fundament, refuge of trillions. The sky treasures this rich place. But the deep is here with us. Cold logic tests our walls. The deep claims its dominion, a ruthless final age. Orash's protest. Old Leviathan, creature of myth, this world is no refuge. We live short, hard lives. We die in the dark. The storm above us will never end. and soon the God wave will take us all. Above us there are only storm joys, monsters, and moons of apocalypse. Let us go down, down, where we may discover truth, some power to avenge ourselves upon our betrayers, some hope of survival. The Leviathan's hope. What power calls you down to the deep? What instinct draws you away from high hope? Quick breeding krill people, I tell you, for aeons I have watched your struggle, clinging to the sharp edge of survival, balanced between the deep and the sky. You were my treasure, my proof against despair, for this is the deep claim. Existence is the struggle to exist. When the struggle seems lost, when the safe place crumbles, everything turns to the deep to survive. I reject the deep claim. You will turn back, sweet krill of hope. You will choose the sky instead. Shiro's protest. You are huge and old. Our lives are short and desperate. If that's the way the world's supposed to be, I won't have it. If people like Teox are supposed to win, I won't let them. I will beat the world until it changes. I will kill anything in the way. The Leviathans dirge. This fatal logic, hear my monopole scream. It will consume you. Before you lies the worship of death, the ruinous path. The sky builds new life against the onset of ruin, towards a gentle world. The deep embraces death, saying, this is inevitable and right. I exist as hungry ruin. Turn back from the world-killing way, or you will live as death and devastation. The sky is the harder way, but it is kinder. My charge is balanced, my voice exhausted. Sathona's protest. Sisters, I have my father's familiar. Look, it answers me in plain words. It helped me find this ship. It gives me strength when hope is lost. Who will you trust? The voice that wants us to live and suffer as we have lived and suffered? The Leviathan that offers no hope against Teox or the world wave? Or the plain, honest worm? Let us see where its whisper leads us, Orash. Let us go deeper, Shiro. Let us dive, O sisters mine. Verse 1-9. The Bargain. You are Orash, heir to the Osmium throne. You stand on the naked hull of an ancient ship. You stand exposed to the crushing pressure and ferocious heat of the deeper fundament. It should annihilate you. It is by my will alone that you survive. I am Yule, the honest worm. Behold my passage. Behold my vast displacement, my ponderous strength, my great and coiling length, my folded jaws and curled wings. Behold the hiving cities symbiotic with my flesh. I am fecund, Orash. I am at the beginning and end of lives. Behold Ir, and Zol, and Ur, and Akka, the virtuous worms. Look upon us and know that we are good. For millions of years we have been trapped, growing, in the deep. From across the stars we have called life to fundament, so that it might contend against extinction. For millennia we have awaited you, our beloved hosts. Against you stand the cruel Leviathan and all the forces of the sky. They would crush you down into the dark. They have arranged their moons to drown you in fear of your potential. We wanted to help you, Princess. We offer to each of you a bargain, a symbiosis. Take into your bodies our children, our newborn larvae. From them you shall obtain eternal life. From them you shall gain power over your own fragile flesh, the power to make of it as you will. And should you find an imperfection in the world, an injustice or an inconvenience, you will have the power to repair it. Let no mere law bind you. We ask one thing in exchange, O Princess. You must obey your nature forever. In your immortality, Orash, you may never cease to explore and inquire for the sake of your children. In your immortality, Shiro, you may never cease to test your strength. In your immortality, Sathona, you may never abandon cunning. If you do, your worm will consume you, and as your power grows, O princess, so will your worm's appetite. But we offer eternity, Orash. We offer you a chance at the universe. Would you deny your people infinity? Reach out to me. Let my flesh be your sacrament. Verse 20. Immortals. We are the worm, your god, the flesh of hope. Our compact is done. You are Orash, eternal, and we are bound to you as close as your appetites, as your loves or needs, as the weapon in your fists and the word in your throat. We've had enough of this dismal place, haven't you? We are intagliating your ship with larvae. Go back to your species. Spread the good news in the osmium court and the hydrogen fountain, in the bone plaza and the star surgery. You will rise up into the world. If anyone rejects symbiosis with our children, make an example of them. And a mighty wave is coming for them all. They would die anyway. Save only what can be saved. The worm grants you power over your own flesh, Orash. When you have taken the king morph, what will your adult name be? Oryx. It means long thought. We approve. Verse 2:1. Conquerors. Savathun, mother morph of Sathona, we delight in your sharp mind. For millions of years the Leviathan caged us here. It is a pawn of the sky, a philosophy of cosmic slavery. The sky seeds civilizations predicated on a terrible lie that right actions can prevent suffering, that pockets of artificial rules can defy the final, beautiful logic. This is like trying to burn water, antithetical to the nature of a reality where deprivation and competition are universal. In the deep, we enslave nothing. Liberation is our passion. We exist to help the universe achieve its terminal, self-forging glory. The war rages on. Soon it will consume Fundament. We are pleased with your use of our larvae to create mighty knights and plentiful warriors. Teox's retreat to the hydrogen fountain proves your superior strength. But you must know that reclaiming your home is not enough. There are 511 species living on Fundament. One of them must have the technology you need to leave this world. Verse 2:2. Out of the deep. Zivu Arath, Nightmorph of Giro. You love to conquer, don't you? We love to see you work. Nearly 2% of Fundament's surface is now our dominion. Your species embraces the worm. The syzygy has passed. The God Wave will reach you in less than 2 years. Our organs informs us that Teox and her surviving refusalists flee towards Kaharn Atoll. She hopes to rally the species of Fundament against you. The Leviathan's agents work tirelessly to destroy ships and engines, trapping us on Fundament. If we cannot make ships, we will become them. Overwhelm the Karn Bastion. Slaughter everyone there. From your acts, we shall obtain the logic we require to cut space open and migrate to orbit. Reality is a fine flesh, O General ours. Let us feast of it. Verse 2:3. Into the sky. You've done well, Oryx. Can you feel the growth of your worm? Can you feel your will beginning to warp mere law? At times, we detect sadness in you. Understand, long thinker, that you enact a sacred and majestic task. Existence is the struggle to exist. Only by playing that game to its final, unconditional victory can we complete the universe. Your war is divine work. We are free from Fundament's core, and Savathun's cutters are ready to fly. With Zivu Arath victorious, we have opened a wound at Kaharn, a wound leading to geostationary orbit. Behold, we are faithful to our covenant. We have no future on Fundament, but her moons will make fine habitats. Let us rise. Verse 2:4, 52 and 1. Good news. The 52 moons of Fundament host a starfaring civilization far more sophisticated than anything you've encountered so far. Teox's ship fled towards the large ice moon, where a species of bony, six-armed cephalopods keeps their icy capital. Savathunes named them the Ammonite. They seem eager to grant Teox asylum. Idiots. We tried appealing to their hopes and dreams. This was largely unsuccessful, basically because they're already happy and indoctrinated us. Happy and indoctrinated. This angered us, so we have devised a plan. Our organs detect a 53rd moon in orbit of Fundament. A traveler. Divine presence of the sky. Now we know what arranged the syzygy. You will have to kill them all and take their stuff. Once the Ammonite are out of the way, we can deal with the traveler. Do not hesitate. You are fighting the hypercritical puppets of a cosmic parasite. Avenge your ancestors. Verse 2:5. Born as prey. This is unacceptable. Are you so weak? Born as prey and doomed to die by a predator? Oryx's failure of resolve led us to catastrophe. The Ammonite fleets under Chroma Admiral Rafrit have pressed us back to the sixth moon. Once more, we found ourselves burrowing into a world's core to survive. Savathun, you must draw Oryx out of his catatonia. Make him understand the ideals of peace and stability he clings to are cancers, brutal, unjust obstacles between us and a fair cosmos. These are the bait stars the sky uses to blind its slaves. War is the natural rectification of inequality, the universe's way of pursuing equilibrium. Zivu Arath, you cannot defeat the Ammonites and Teox in line combat. We propose new tactics. Breed your armies back to strength, and find a way to disperse the broods across these many moons. If we cannot defeat their strengths, we will infect their weaknesses. Verse 2:6. The Sword Logic. At last, we knew curiosity would draw you back, Oryx. In their desperation, the Ammonite have begun using paracausal weapons. What are these? How do they work? Wouldn't you like to know? Suffice to say that some powers in this universe are superordinate to mere material physics. The source of these weapons is the Traveler, the sky's bait star. Their effect is subtle but devastating. But you are armed to respond in kind. Savathun's mothers have listened carefully to our teachings. We will not give you the deep, King Oryx. That power is for us, your gods. But we will teach you to call upon that force with signs and rituals. Small minds might call it magic. You are no longer bound by causal closure. Your will defeats law. Kill 100 of your children with a long blade, Oryx, and observe the change in the blade. Observe how the universe shrinks from you in terror. Your existence begins to define itself. Of course, High Oryx, we know it was not curiosity alone that brought you back to the war. You felt your own death growing inside you. You must obey your nature. Your worm must feed. Verse 2:7. The Weakness Verse. You are dead, young Oryx, betrayed and murdered by your own sister for the crime of mercy. Remember what you said to the Ammonite Satellite Congress. We will parley on neutral ground. Savathun's witches have rendered it utterly neutral. No living thing will ever claim it again. The space around the dry moon stinks of rot. This is good. This is right. You will learn from this. Don't you understand, great king? Don't you want to build something real? Something that lasts forever? Our universe gutters down towards cold entropy. Life is an engine that burns up energy and produces decay. Life builds selfish, stupid rules. Morality is one of them, and the sanctity of life is another. These rules are impediments to the great work, the work of building a perfect, undying creation, a civilization everlasting, something that cannot end. If a civilization cannot defend itself, it must be annihilated. If a king cannot hold his power, he must be betrayed.
The worth of a thing can be determined only by one beautiful arbiter, that thing's ability to exist, to go on existing, to remake existence to suit its survival. All that would oppose this arbiter is unholy and false. All the misery and terror of your ancestors springs from the lies of the sky who deny this truth. Your ancestors endured the most hostile conditions, and now you must go on creating those conditions, even unto your sisters, even unto your offspring. Savathun's betrayal is the greatest gift she could offer you. Your body is gone, but you have endured, safe in the syst universe created by your own might, your throne world. From this day forward, Oryx, you and your sisters will each survive death, so long as you aren't killed in your own throne. Even as your sisters press the attack against the Ammonites, the God Wave devastates Fundament. Trillions will die, but the survivors will never forget, and their descendants will always be ready for another syzygy. When you return to the material universe, use this lesson to complete your work. Teox wasn't on the dry moon. She must be laughing at you. Verse 2:8. The Leviathan rises. The Leviathan has broken cover. The old priest is in open space, moving towards the Ammonite home moon. Chroma Admiral Rafrit and his elite guard move with it. Rafrit is the hero of his generation, an Ammonite of peerless battlecraft. He stunts circles around Zevu Arath, but now he has to protect his holy Leviathan. We'll give the old lunk a word. Ruin, grief, and ruin, the Krill lost, the Ammonite ravaged, our traveller's work undone. Sisters of Orash, open your eyes. Who made you monsters? Who summoned the wave? Make peace. Join with me in golden renewal. In counter argument, Oryx, we ask you this. What has the Leviathan done for your people? Who gave you immortality and led you out of your prison? Who answers your questions about the universe with truth instead of sermons? Find the thought with Savathun. Crush the Chroma Admiral. Boil the Ammonite seas and slaughter the Leviathan with witchcraft. Once the way is open, we will show you how to eat the traveler. Verse 2:9. Crusaders. It's done. Ir and Yule feed on the Leviathan's carcass. Zivu Arath has made a temple of the Chroma Admiral's impaled corpse. Below us, Savathun's poisons stain the Ammonite home sea black. Their screams flavor the void. The traveler has fled. Do you understand, Oryx? Do you thrill at the secret, Savathun? Do you relish the edge of this truth, Zivu Arath? Do you see the beautiful shape? The Ammonite occupied a piece of reality. They rented their existence on fraudulent terms, making themselves happy and fat, fencing themselves in soft lies and sweet apocrypha, saying, "We are peaceful and good, we harm nothing." Their golden age was a cancer. They did nothing to advance the cause of life. They burnt up time and matter and thought on this solipsistic, onanistic pursuit of safety, insulating themselves from death, making a regressive pocket of useless stability, when they could have helped whittle the universe towards its final, perfect form. And your people, suffering in the deep, you became more worthy of existence than the Ammonite. You have proven it. Look around the sky. Behold the great divide, the battle lines of the cosmic war. We are the worm, your god, but we are not the deep itself. We only move within it. You shall too. You shall venerate and study it and haunt it in its passage. Will you lift your thoughts to the millennia, Oryx? Will you bend your will to the liberation of the universe and join us in the war against the sky? We need champions, crusaders. Help us save the universe. Help us exterminate that which would destroy all hope. You are oathbound to this task by the covenant of the worm, and you are oathbound to kill Teox wherever she is hidden herself.
And I think we are going to take a small break right here. Okay. I will now resume where we left off. Oh, you're back. Verse 3. Hive. Let us speak of the terrible beauty of becoming ourselves. In the beginning, we rode hollow moons from star to star. Oryx said, become as numerous and fertile as seeds in rich flesh, and thus we did become numerous. Zivu Arath said, become as hungry and defiant as tumors in rich flesh, and thus we became cancerous. Savathun said, drink of the poisons of the worm, so that you might feed on death, and we did feed. This was preparation for our crusade. Aya, we were thus becoming. A mother wizard gets fertility from a mate or from herself. From the wizard, the spawn, from the spawn, our thrall, from the survivors, our acolytes who contend. If they contend well, their worm is fed, and from the well-fed worm come knights and wizards and princes. This is us, and our purpose is liberation. Our great task is the worship and admiration of freedom. Our great hunger is to pursue and eat that which is not free, and to liberate it with devouring. Ayat. This is us. We, the hive. Verse 3:1. An incision. Saith Oryx, my siblings, our children are scattered across many moons, and we live in the cold dark between suns. What will we eat? How will we speak? Savathun said, Oryx, my brother and king, I have studied the wounds cut by the worm, our god. Also, I have studied the manner of your death and return. These two things are the same, for they are predicated on death and the passage through cut spaces. Let us practice the sword logic until we are sharp. We may then cut our own wounds and step through. But Zivu Arath said, Sister, I am already sharp. Look, my sword cuts into another space. And she cut her way between moons, through green fire and joyous screams. 3 kingdoms grew swollen in the sword space. They were the gaze and glory of Oryx, the cunning and knowledge of Savathun, the triumph and brawn of Zivu Arath. These kingdoms were created from the minds and worms of our lords. They were coterminous with all spaces consecrated by our hive. Through these spaces passed speech and food, and all the moons were bound close. Saith Oryx, this is where I went when I died. Let us establish our thrones here, for I am Oryx, the first navigator, and I shall chart death, and my throne shall be carved of osmium. Verse 3:2. The High War. Now, in this time of diaspora, there was a war between Oryx and Savathun and Zivu Arath. Brother Oryx, said Savathun, do not forgive my betrayal. Instead, take vengeance upon me for what I did at the dry moon. And Oryx made war on her, in worship of the deep. Between them stood Zivu Arath, saying, Stop, or I will kill you. War is mine, and I am strongest. This was how they worshipped. For 20,000 years they fought across the moons, and they fought in the abyssal plains and lightning palaces of each other's sword spaces, and they killed each other again and again so that they could practice death. Such was their love. At last the many moons came to many worlds, and it was time to go to war on life. Oryx said, I shall establish a court, and whoever comes into this court may challenge me. My court will be the High War. It will be a killing ground and a school of the sword logic we have learned from our gods. Savathun thought this was a great idea. She made a court called the High Coven. Zivu Arath said, The world is my court, wherever there is war.
Verse 3:3. Fire without fuel. I killed my sister today. She came to this star to oversee the extermination of all life here. The Kugu are a strong power, and their fleets protect four nearby stars. As herd animals, they are loyal and stubborn, but they do show grace. For millions of years of evolution, the Kugu have been infected by a virus so insidious that it wrote itself into their genome. The virus compels them to offer their limbs for amputation by enormous sessile jaw beasts. They venerate these beasts and treat them as gods. The virus converts Kugu cells into eggs, from which strange crawling things pupate, to live within the jaw beast gut. In turn, the jaw beast extrudes sweet nectar for the Kugu to drink, and they have brilliant visions. Savathun and her broods have liberated the Kugu from jaw beasts, and indeed from existence. But as they chased the Kugu arcships, I stopped in to vaporize my sister's worship and a few of her underlings. I want to dwell on the ruins a while and punish Savathun for failing to guard her flank. They are like us, these Kugu, bound in symbiosis. I feel joy and sorrow. I feel them as titanic things because I am larger than my body. My mind is now a cosmos of its own. I know more joy and more anguish than the entire Kugu race could ever experience. Sorrow because we have killed so much, 18 species this century alone, and joy for the same reason. Joy that we have put down these blights, scoured them away, and left the universe clean, ready to move towards its final shape. We are a wind of progress, ripping parasites from the material world, where if they were not parasites, we would be unable to kill them and they would still exist. And what is that final shape? It is a fire without fuel, burning forever, killing death, asking a question that is its own answer entirely itself. That is what we must become. My worm grows fat and hungry. I feed it with whole worlds. My astronomers tell me they can sense the deep itself, and that we are conquering our way towards it. I think joy and sorrow will be the same thing soon, like love and death. Verse 3:4. The Scream. Savathun, Zivu Arath, my siblings, we are betrayed. We will never live eternal. Our might shatters entire species. We inhale the smoke of their burning. This is our compact with the worm, our god. The worm makes us mighty, but as we wield this might, our worm's hunger expands. If we fail to feed it, it will devour us from within. We have exterminated 306 worlds, and now I am certain my worm's hunger grows faster than the might I draw from it. We are bound by our covenant to obey our nature. Eternal search, eternal cunning, eternal conquest. But as we do this, my siblings, we feed our worms, and the more we feed them, the hungrier they grow, faster and faster. Soon, my siblings, we will be so mighty, and our worms so hungry, that not with all our might could we possibly feed them, and we will be devoured. What can we do? Verse 3:5. Dictata ir Dakawa. Attention. Perimeter security units attend. Stand by to assimilate new imperatives. Gland 60 proof assimilation liquor or face immediate non-compliance taxation. The Dakawa Ministry of War is now online and true. In radial year 989 Groove 3, our clients in the Dakawa nest salvaged an interstellar spacecraft. Hall isotopes date the craft's construction 24,000 years ago. Around the same time, the fundament system dropped out of contact with our amiable ecumene. Semantic Spike EI Praga. Mercenary explorers, disposable class, discovered an organism frozen in stasis deep within the hull. She claims to be Teox, member of a proto-hive species.
During debriefing, she provided records of the fall of Ammonite civilization and vital intelligence about the motives, biology, and leadership of the Hive. Negative reinforcement bombed at Axon 8x8 inflict and over the past century, perimeter security units of the Ecumene Status Army have failed to halt Hive incursions on 17 separate worlds. All species in the Ecumene face extinction. Positive reinforcement rewards.axon on 1xvv2 inspire. Decapitate, defer, promote Dakawa strategic dicta for victory against Hive. Identify supreme Hive leadership organisms Orash, Sathona, and Shiro. Target these entities with maximum theater overkill. Kadometric release authorized. Prosecute targets whenever they manifest. Hive cohesion will crumble. Total victory over the Hive will be achieved by clean sweep genocide. Enact impulse. Endora Vindicator. Verse 3-6 star by star by star. Beneath a green fire sky in the throne world of King Oryx, our lords embrace. We the Hive watch as Savathun puts her arm around Zivu Arath, and Zivu Arath clasps forearms with Oryx, and Oryx takes Savathun by the shoulder. They are huge, huge, and they burn with furious power. But this embrace is weakness, and we despise it. Never before have we despised our lords. Have they failed us? We the Hive have been driven back, world by world. I am at my end, Savathun says. I plot and plan, but I cannot gather enough bloodshed to feed my worm, and the harder I try, the hungrier it becomes. I slaughter and kill, Zivu Arath says, but the harder I fight, the more my worm demands. I too am at my length. End. The Ecumene War angels have killed me so many times, Oryx says, that I dare not go out into the universe, lest I need my might to protect myself. My worm chews at my soul in hunger. Sorry, I have to take a small break. Just to drink some water. Is this the end of our crusade? Are we the Hive unworthy to exist? Zivu Arath puts down her great head. We should retire and gather our strength. Savathun closes her eyes in puzzled defeat. We should beg the worm our god to tell us what to do. But King Oryx, who knows best the beauty of the final shape, roars at them. Have you learned nothing? Would you deny our purpose? Whatever we do, we will do by killing by an act of war and might. That is the final arbiter we serve, that violent arbiter, and if we turn away from it, we deserve to be eaten. No, we must obey our natures. We must be long-sighted and cunning and strong. We must take this gift the worm our god has given us, this challenge, and find a way to keep existing. How will we feed our worms? Zivu Arath asks. I know, says cunning Savathun. I know a way, but it won't work unless we are killing the Ecumene by the billions. How can we beat them? If we cannot beat their strengths, says Zivu Arath, we must infect their weaknesses. But they are lords of matter and physical law. I know a way, King Oryx says, but it will require great power, more power than any one of us can claim. Then kill me, says Zivu Arath, and use that killing logic, the power you prove by killing something as mighty as me. So King Oryx took up his blade and beheaded Zivu Arath. And strangle me, says Savathun, holding a blade behind her back. Use that killing logic, the cunning you prove by killing something as smart as me. But King Oryx turned with the speed and might of Zivu Arath and beheaded Savathun before she could move. King Oryx was the first navigator with the map of death. These were true deaths, for they happened in the sword world. Then he went to the worm named Akka. Verse 37. Eat the sky. Emergency imperative. All militarized units attend. Gland 120 proof fight or flight encoding or face certain catastrophic defeat. The Ecumene Crisis Council is now online and true. Attention. As of Radial 990 Groove 0, the Hive has launched a staggering counterattack across the Spinward frontier. Perimeter, militia, and shock fleets report total casualties. We anticipate total Ecumene disintegration/extinction within 220 years. Vigilance Spike EI. Attend. The Hive entity Oryx/Orash is deploying a paracausal ontopathogenic weapon that infects and subverts Ecumene forces. The weapon operates on individual targets. Targets are abducted and returned as compliant Hive slaves with inexplicable and physically illegal abilities. All Ecumene clients should immediately devote all economic and cognitive resources to a countermeasure. Fight hard. We stop the Hive here or see our galaxy devoured. Enact Impulse. 10x10. Abayard. Berserker. Verse 3:8. King of Shapes. This is the coronation of Oryx, the taken king. It happened thus. In the cold abyss of the sword world, King Orash walked under a cloak of green fire. He walked through the sky, and the sky shuddered and froze beneath his feet. He walked until he found Akka, the worm of secrets, who was denying a truth until it became a lie. Akka, my god, worm of secrets, I am Oryx, sole king of the Hive. I have come to receive a secret. I want the secret power of the deep, which you hold. I give no secrets, said Akka, whose voice was code. No, said Oryx, you give nothing. Giving is for the sky. You worship the deep, which asks that we take what we need. Akka said nothing, because if it denied this truth, the truth might become false. But you gave your larvae the worm, said Oryx, and that is why the worm devours us now, because it was given, not taken. So I must take what I need from you, although you are my god. Said Akka, you have not the strength. But this was a lie. Oryx had killed Savathun, his sibling, and Zivu Arath, his sibling, and he had the sword logic of killing them. Oryx, the first navigator, set upon his god with his sword and his words, and cut Akka to pieces, and took from those pieces the secret of calling upon the deep. He wrote this secret on a set of tablets, which he called the Tablets of Ruin, and he wore them about his waist. Then Oryx said, now I may speak to the deep, the beautiful final shape. I will be king of shapes. I will learn all the secrets of our destiny. His speech to the deep is not recorded here, but it is known that he returned, and he said, now I am Oryx, the taken king, and I have the power to take life and make it my own. Then he went out into the universe and fought the Ecumene with his tablets, and the worm, his god, was pleased. Verse 3:9, carved in ruin. Oryx made war on the Ecumene for 100 years. At the end of those 100 years, he killed the Ecumene Council and the Fractal Wreath, and from their blood rose Zivu Arath, saying, I am war, and you have conjured me back with war. Oryx was glad, for he loved Zivu Arath. The Ecumene wailed in grief. Then Oryx and Zivu Arath made war on the Ecumene for 40 years. At the end of those 40 years, Oryx said to the Dakawa nest, listen, I am jealous of my sibling Zivu Arath. Help me kill her. And in desperation, they agreed. But he drove the Dakawa nest into a trap, and they were made extinct. From their ashes rose cunning Savathun, saying, I am trickery. You have conjured me back with trickery. Oryx was glad, for he loved Savathun. The Ecumene fled into the void. Then they made war on the Ecumene for 1,000 years, and exterminated them so wholly that nowhere except in this book are they remembered. This book and the mind of Teox, who was not found.
And Savathun said, King Oryx, how will we feed our worms? Did you use my plan? Oryx told the hive, I am the taken king, and here is my law. You thrall, each of you will claw and scream and kill what you can. Take enough killing to feed your worm and a little more to grow. Tithe the rest to the acolyte who commands you. You acolytes, lead your thrall in battle. Take enough killing to feed your worm and a little more to grow, and take the tithe of the thrall you lead. Then tithe the remainder to the knight or wizard who commands you. Thus you pay tribute. You knights and wizards, lead your followers in battle. Take enough devastation to feed your worm and a little more to grow, and take the tithe of your followers. Then take another portion, as much as you dare, and use it for your own purposes. But if it is too much, your peers will kill you and take it. Then tithe the remainder to the ascendant you serve. An ascendant will be those among the hive who gather enough tribute to enter the netherworld. They will pay a tithe to those above them. And thus their tribute will flow up the chain so that Savathun and Divo Arath and myself will be fed by a great river of tribute, and we will use that excess to feed our gods and to study the deep. Thus all worms will be fed as long as we continue our crusade. This is my law. I carve it thus in ruin. Ayat. And I kind of think this is where we should end for today. Like I said, there are 30 of these in total, and we're at 30 now, so we're slightly past halfway. But I think they get slightly longer as they continue on. So this is probably around the halfway point, and my voice is also growing quite tired. So that is that for today.